should have stayed. Were there signs I ignored? Can I help you not to hurt anymore?
We saw brilliance when the world was asleep. There are things that we can have but can't keep. If they say, who cares if one more light goes out in the sky of a million stars?
It flickers, flickers.
Who cares if someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are,
Or quicker, quicker.
who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do.
The reminders follow the floor from your feet. In the kitchen, one more chair than you need.
Oh, you're angry, and you should be.
You should be.
It's not fair. Just 'cause you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. If they say, who cares if one more light goes out in the sky of a million stars? It flickers, flickers. Who cares if someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are, or quicker, quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do. Who cares if one more light goes out in the sky of a million stars?
It flickers, flickers.
Who cares when someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are, or quicker, quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do.
Well, I do.
Hello, everyone. I'm Haven Wilvich, founder and executive director of the Seattle Trans Non-Binary Choral Ensemble, better known as STANCE. Thank you to our soloists for that song, Jay, Molly, and Danny, with Sam on guitar. And thank you for joining us tonight. The song you just heard is called One More Light by the alt-rock band Linkin Park. It's the last single Chester Bennington performed before he took his own life. It's a song about needing people to know that we care if they're part of our world, that you're not alone. Linkin Park is a band that's near and dear to my heart. Their album, Living Things, was instrumental in helping me process one of the most difficult times in my life. I was struggling to survive an abusive relationship where I wasn't allowed to come out as queer or trans. But through their music, I was able to find the strength to leave that relationship. As I came out of that period, I began to realize how important singing was to me, and yet, at the same time, how difficult it was to find a space to sing as a feminine bass. I began to dream of a place where trans and non-binary people could sing free of gendered norms. And now that dream has become a reality, thanks to many of you in the audience here today. Thank you for giving me the gift of this community. Now I'll hand it over to our MC for the evening, Fox Hampton.
Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. My name is Fox. I use he and they pronouns. I am from the occupied land known as Seattle. I've been organizing most of my adult life, and I'm now the co-director of Alphabet Alliance of Color, known as AOC. We're a really small nonprofit that serves queer and trans, Black, Indigenous people, cutie BIPOC in the Puget Sound region by creating networks of care and support. And I'm really excited to be your MC for tonight. And before we jump into the program that we're all super excited to be here for, I wanted to take some time to ground us in our space. First, we would like to acknowledge that we are gathered together on the land of the first peoples of Seattle, the Duwamish, Muckleshoot, Stillaguamish tribes, past and present. We strive to honor with gratitude the land itself and its stewardship of these indigenous tribes. We also respectfully acknowledge the enslaved people, primarily of African descent, whose exploited labor on which this country is built with little to no recognition. Today, we are indebted to their labor and the labor of many Black and brown people that continue to work in the shadows for our collective benefit. And I want to talk a little bit about Trans Day of Remembrance, also known as TDOR. It was started in 1999 by a person named Gwendolyn Ann Smith, who started it as a vigil for a Black trans woman named Rita Hester, who was murdered in 1998. It has since grown into an annual holiday where we remember those that we have lost that year. Given the nature of Trans Day of Remembrance, we did want to offer a content warning. In this program, there will be mentions of abuse, suicide, and murder. And with that, I want to thank our sponsors and partners, Traction, King County for Culture, and Queer Power Alliance. I also want to thank our directors, Katie Lee, Alicia Bolmy, and Mikey Prince, who will both be conducting and playing piano for us tonight. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first storyteller, Yoshi Das.
I've been in choirs since I was little and very recently discovered I'm a trans man. So when someone first told me about Stance back in the summer, I thought, cool, a queer choir, that sounds fun. After my audition in August, I was so happy, I walked out of the building marginally composed, then proceeded to squeal and twirl down the sidewalk. The following week, during our first rehearsal, one of the icebreakers was, who here identifies as neurodivergent? To my surprise, nearly everyone raised their hands, and I thought, wait, a queer, neurodivergent choir? Immediately after the rehearsal, I called one of my best friends and literally shouted, "My people!" I was so excited. I knew I'd found my crowd. Still, in that moment, I didn't think much beyond having fun with like-minded people. Funny how the lifesavers come so unexpectedly. I came into Stance barely starting to heal from a lifetime's worth of trauma and self-hatred. Little did I know this choir was about to change my entire point of view. My first time performing with Stance in September, I was so empowered by the singers around me that I took my first step toward transitioning that same day. After that, I started to dip my toes in the Stance social waters, and the result was far more positive than I ever expected. Stance has taught me that I am not always too much or not enough. That sometimes my creative, awkward, emotional, and bubbly self is just right. Because of Stance, for a couple hours a week, I don't have to wonder whether my existence is good enough. For the first time in my life, I have a community in which I know I belong. Joining our choir has allowed me a safe space to explore emotional vulnerability, gender-based desires, and neurodivergent authenticity. All that to say, being a part of Stance for the last 3.5 months has helped me stitch myself back together.
Thank you, Yoshi, for that really sweet story. Sorry. Okay, for real this time. Sorry for jumping ahead. I was just so inspired by Yoshi's story. The first day I picked up my testosterone prescription, I went to see one of my favorite drag queens and was so excited. I wanted to do my T-shot in the club, and for obvious reasons did not. But thank you, Yoshi, and thank you to the choir for that amazing rendition of Holding Light by B.E. Boykin with lyrics by Stuart Kesteban. And now I'm super excited to introduce our first poet of the evening reading their poem, Mercy. Welcome to the stage, Luther Hughes.
Hi. Happy to be here. And to see you all. Y'all look wonderful. Y'all sound great too. Mercy. Peeking through the clouds, Mount Rainier with its white tank top, several cities to glare upon and a moral blue sky to angle into, must love by now to be American. When asked this by the woman in front of us on the night President Obama was elected, my mother and I in Walmart, isn't it a great night to be American? The cashier just nodded, but my mother yelled, yes, it really is, thank God. And yes, it was a great night to be American, there between the bags of Lay's and plague of batteries, to be black in America, thank God. But oh, mountainous beast, who am I to think now? Years later, walking home from the bus stop, surrounded by midwinter eaten trees and new rise condos that my love wasn't shot by cops at work today, mistaken as someone else. Is there a song for this strain of mercy? At home, the light flickers above us as we sip wine, letting the TV wash our bodies into quiet laughter. I know we should spend this time spitting on the name of America how we usually do when another black person has been killed or when another country perfumes with our war, but there's beauty unaccounted for tonight. There are crows out back, tired from the work of flight and pilgrimage, ashing the branches one by one. There is the crock pot of red beans and rice in the kitchen, its chestnut chest bubbling with bay leaves and sausage. I fear I had made a mess of being an American love. I'm done with the fear of never doing enough. Is there anything else you want to say about what happened today? I ask him as he takes a spoonful of home into his mouth. The laugh track on TV peppers the room, and he shakes his head. What did I expect him? Black like me, American like me, in love like me, to say after dusting the day along to get inside this four-walled pasture amid the morning of dirty laundry, the painting of a cracked moon guarding the wooden black dresser. Do you like the food? He asks. Yes, I do, I say, and I kiss him on the cheek. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Luther, for that astounding poem. I'm pleased to introduce our next storyteller, our very own Fluffy.
I hate my voice. I'll be buying something at a store, and the cashier calls me ma'am, and then as soon as I say something in response, there comes the litany of, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I mean, sir. No, you had it right the first time. Or on the phone, they'll be all, yes, sir, thank you, sir. By the way, sir, we have you down as female, sir. You should look into getting that fixed. I hate my voice. Popular music is categorized as male vocals or female vocals. Choral music has the men's sections and the women's sections. There are special gender-implied terms for people who sing in the opposite section: contralto, countertenor, castrato. I have a fairly wide vocal range and gravitate toward alto parts, but in an ensemble I stick out like a squeaky sore thumb, and I always go back into my masculine little tenor box, never having the room to grow and experiment to find what's most comfortable. I hate my voice. But then I joined Stance, a choir literally made for people like me, people who never really fit into the expectations they were assigned at birth, who are now able to shine and experiment and learn and grow, where trans voices come together to sing for the joy of it, together as one, where folks of all genders and lack thereof make their home in every section. Here, a tenor can also be femme. We have this amazing space where we can all come together and share our joys and sorrows, our wins and rants, and support each other. We navigate our identities and our transitions, help each other to find the words for our shared pain, and to find comfort and solace, a path forward in the face of frustration and barriers. We have a space where we can experiment and improvise and grow, and where we can all simply be. Stance has helped me to not feel so alone in this world, and has given me so many opportunities where I can grow and change and thrive. I learned to do better while also having the support of this wonderful queer community, this collection of misfits and weirdos, all coming together in our shared joy. My voice belongs here. I still hate my voice, but at least here it isn't so bad when we all sing together.
Thank you, Fluffy, for that vulnerable story. I know many of us can relate. And thank you to the choir for that lovely rendition of Earth Song by Frank Ticelli. I'm delighted to introduce our next poet, reading their poem, Shaki Peters. Welcome to the stage, Subhaga Crystal Bacon.
Shaki Peters, 32, Amite City, Louisiana, July 1st. She was full of laughter and abundance of life. Shaki, there's a plant that grows here where I live called shadbush. It's also known as serviceberry, but it's the genus I thought of yesterday, seeking shade on the hillside, carrying you with me in the heat of day. How it gives shade, gives fruit, dark purple, seeded and nourishing. Your face, Shaki, in the one photo I can find, is round and open, dark and sweet. Your eyes seem to tip up a bit at the outer corners. Your lips are full, plush as pillows. I keep waiting for some story to explain your murder. I don't know how much that matters in the long run, but it might fill the gap around your death. I keep thinking about the name Amite City, from the French for friendship. Like my hometown, Philadelphia, city of brotherly love, likewise, no friend to trans women. I spent a month in Louisiana in 1984. It was hot and humid, and I loved the way sweat soaked me, sticking clothes to skin. I used to move from shade to shade, the shadows of buildings, banana trees, and one very large fig tree in the yard of the house I rented, hand-shaped leaves the size of fans. In 1984, Shaki, you weren't even born yet. It was a heyday for being queer, if you don't count AIDS. We were all trying on gender, like a wig or a dress or suit and tie. I used to go to a drag bar in Philly where I had a crush on a Zoftig redhead I now know to have been trans. She was very kind to me, taking my face in her soft hands, fragrant and styled like the mother of a childhood friend I had to share a bed with one weekend. I clung all night to the far edge in fear that I would accidentally touch her. There was a ripeness in her, sweet, nourishing, a kind of femme that makes my heart ache, that I've never known or been. There are many kinds of shadow, Shaki, many kinds of shade. I think of you now, inhabiting that, luscious, lush, safe.
Thank you, Sopaga, for that really powerful poem. Next to the stage, someone you've already become acquainted with, Kaylee Bolney.
Hi, I am Kaylee, your artistic director, and before I start saying what I have planned to say, I just want to say that Stans has really changed my life as well. Like, basically immediately before, I was hired, as in I started making money from this, I was about to get kicked out of my home because the owners of the condo I was living in were about to sell it. So if this all had not occurred, everything just exactly at the time that it had, I would probably not still even been in Seattle right now, which I love that I'm in Seattle, so thank you, Stans, for that, as well as so many other things. This weekend has just been very, proud mom energy for me. It's been so wonderful to just see, the amount of, joy and passion and love and just, yeah, this group, it means a lot, so. So I used to have very lofty dreams, like fame and fortune type lofty dreams. And while those would still be a lot of fun to attain those dreams,
My dreams recently they've tempered somewhat. They've become a little more modest. And yet, I say them out loud, and they sound as unattainable as as my dreams ever have. I'm 32 years old, and I have a wife and a dog, and I would love to be able to raise a family with children in a house. Right? That shouldn't be funny, but it is, and I get it, because it's like, it sounds ridiculous now. This thing that used to be a thing that people could just kind of attain. So, if I have kids, I would love for them to know their grandparents. I'm working 5 to 6 jobs at any given time, and I feel like we're out here changing lives. You've heard that we're out here changing lives. And if organizations like this were fully funded, then people like me in lower value professions like music, who are actually out here pursuing our big dreams, could get on with the lives we want to live. I want to be able to put more compassion in the world. I want the resources to be able to change more people's lives, because there are people who are desperate for an organization like Stance to give them anything approaching hope in this bleak, miserable world, and will never get such a thing because of the geographical circumstances of their brief existence. And I feel like I haven't even come close to reaching my full potential because my attention is so scattered all over the place. Like, I feel like if I could focus on just like 3 things, I would be able to do even more for people. But, I realize the privilege I have. I'm able to be out here making a living as a musician and afford to live in King County, which is a miracle. All that comes with that. Because of the circumstances of my birth, because I'm a public-facing person in an organization like this, I get to enjoy the ever-increasing % chance that I'll be horribly murdered by some random bigot someday. And that risk is worth it to me. It has always been worth it to me. But the point is that everybody involved in this organization has one thing in common, and it's something that makes us way less likely to succeed in a society that's not built for us. So, if we could find big money somewhere to keep me employed long enough to uplift this organization, to keep uplifting organization, and others like it before, who knows what's going to happen, I think if the right, well-meaning person who wants to be like a real ally hears this message, it could mean a lot. It could mean so much. Like, we have, and we can demonstrate this, we have the desire for not just one choir, but up to 3. Like, really, we've got Stance, which is the main choir. We have Contests, which could grow into its own thing. And there's a lot of I have a lot of teacher friends who've been like, hey, my 16, 15, 17-year-old students would love to have something like this, but for them. And I would love for us to be able to have that too, because that would be just so valuable. But each of these things has its own separate costs, and we're operating at capacity as it is. So, yeah, all of that is to say, if someone in this audience happens to have a lot of money, like capital L, or even better, if someone happens to work in a position of great influence in a company that has a lot of money, we are in the market for corporate sponsorships. So, yeah, that is my story. Ultimately, I'm just motivated by the desire to make us all better. So, thank you. So now, we move ahead in our program, And we will be presenting as the closer for Act 1, the closing sequence to the musical Hair. And I will be piano conducting, and we'll have a whole lot of soloists, so please enjoy.
We stop, look at one another, short of breath, walking proudly in our winter coats, wearing smells from laboratories, facing a dying nation of moving paper fantasy, listening for the new tall lies with supreme visions of lonely tunes.
Somewhere inside something there is a rush of greatness. Who knows what stands in front of our lives? I finish in my future on films in space. Silence tells me secretly everything, everything.
Manchester, England, England. Manchester, England, England. Across the Atlantic Sea. And I'm a genius, genius. I believe in God. I believe in God. Believe in God. That's me. That's me. That's me. The rest is silence. We stop, look at one another, short of breath, walking proudly in our winter coats, wearing smells from laboratories, facing a dying nation with moving paper fantasies, listed for the new top lies, with supreme visions of lovely tunes. Our
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a groovy rendition. If you have not seen Hair, that is The Flesh Failures, Eyes Look Your Last, Let the Sun Shine In by Galt McDermott with lyrics by James Rotto and Jerome Ragney. Thank you so much to our soloists, Ada, Fluffy, Rosemary, Mitchie, Tesseract, Ada Lee, Alyssa, and Yossi. Thank you to Sam on guitar, Kaylee on keys, and Mikey on the drums. As mentioned, this is the end of our first number. We will be taking a quick 10-minute intermission. Please take some time to reflect on the people we've lost. Their pictures are in the lobby. Please grab a candle. Subhaga is selling her books in the lobby as well. There are bathrooms on this floor. If you go back out into the main lobby, they're on the other side of the stairs. There are all-gender restrooms on the second floor to the right of the stairs. And while you're taking your intermission, please take a candle, as well as when we come back, we'll be going into the reading of the names. And with that, enjoy your intermission. Intermission. Thank you, Mikey. We are now entering the portion of the program known as Reading the Names. This will be the part where we read the names of the people that we have lost this year. Keep in mind that these are just the people that we have lost in the United States. These are also the only people that we know, as trans people's deaths and murder are often, they are either misgendered or their deaths are clumsily misconstrued. And so I invite y'all to turn your candles on. There's a little black switch at the bottom. You gotta shake it sometimes a little bit. And I will invite our first choir member to start us off.
Miles Fitzpatrick, age 17, New Jersey. Emma Borhanian, 31, California. Aylin Anderson, 24, Oklahoma. Daniel Davis Aston, 28, Colorado. Kelly Loving, 40, Colorado. Diamond Jackson McDonald, 27, Pennsylvania. Day Rodas, 27, California. Morgan D., 32, Indiana.
Destiny Howard, 23, Georgia. Marquise M.J. Jackson, 33, Pennsylvania. Henry Berg Brousseau, 24, Kentucky. Kaylee Lovelight, 27, Arizona. Levi Martin, 17, Massachusetts. Gwen Gatewood, 22, Michigan. Jasmine Starr Mack, 36, Washington, D.C. Casey Johnson, 27, North Carolina.
Manuel Tortuguita Taran, 26, Georgia. Olivia Snow, 47, New York. Maria Jose Rivera, Texas. Unique Banks, 20, Illinois. Ivory Nicole Smith, 27, California. Imani Tuitaho Zache, 26, Kentucky. Cache Henderson, 31, Wisconsin. Caitlin Eowyn Earhart, 19, Missouri. Kaylee Scott, 25, Colorado. Sia Woodland, 18, Maryland. Ashley Burton, 37, Georgia. Mo Moore, 18, Kentucky.
Rashida Williams, 35 years old, Georgia. Acacia Riley Stanley, 54 years old, Washington. Stephanie Bricetti, 19 years old, Wyoming. Benko Paso Brown, 24 years old, California. Lakendra Andrews, 26 years old, Texas. Om Gandhi, 16 years old, Utah. Nova Dunn, 14 years old, New Hampshire. Cam Chamberlain, Texas. Mia Elena Lorene Knight, 20 years old, California. Aisha Davis, 34 years old, Michigan. Janelle Uvita Perez Ortiz, 29 years old, Puerto Rico. Jacob Williamson, 18 years old, South Carolina.
Michelle Dion Peacock, 59, of Indiana. Colin Smith, 32, Oregon. Fernielle Mary Mora, 26, of New York. Elena Esther Adam, of Texas. Camden Ryder, 21, of Florida. Michael Ray, of Virginia. Devani Jure Johnson, 28, of California. And Dolly Goins, 27, of Oregon.
Luis Angel Diaz Castro, 22, Puerto Rico. Lovely Page, 54, Illinois. Tom Tom Robertson, 28, Indiana. Catherine Wheeler, 35, Ohio. Tree Crane, about 18, Utah. Breasia Banks, Arizona. Cody Lawrence, 25, West Virginia.
Alexa Drevnasakova, 34, Florida. Charm Wilson, 32, Ohio. Yoko, 30, Louisiana. Thea Cassidy, 18, Pennsylvania. Sherilyn Marjorie, 35, New Mexico. Aaron Ezra Young, 24, Iowa. Alan O'Donnell, 20, New York.
Ronnie Baker, Oregon. China Long, 30, Wisconsin. Dominic Dupree Palace, 25, Illinois. Anae Roberson, 30, Washington, D.C. Lisa Love Turman, 35, Illinois. London Price, 26, Florida. Alice Olin, 17, Washington. Kai Cooper, 46, Washington.
Alexandra Olmo, 43 years old, Illinois. Dee Rutson, 16 years old, Utah. Skylar Harrison Reeves, 30 years old, Washington, D.C. River Page Olmsted, 17 years old, Pennsylvania. Naomi McNew, in Indiana.
Thank you to all of our choir members for reading those names. We say the names of those we lost to speak power to their names, to remember their humanity and not just their final moments. And I implore all of you on this Trans Day of Remembrance to think about what you can do to keep trans people alive. There are children killing themselves because they can't imagine a world where they are not in pain. Children that deserve a life. All of those people deserve to live their life without fear. without pain, without retribution. Every trans person I know is afraid to come out, to transition, because they don't know what the response is going to be. And that has to stop. And we all have some form of power, and I implore you to use it. Don't wait until we're dead. Don't remember us. Honor us while we are living. Keep us alive. Keep us fed in our houses. Keep us clothed and warm. Majority of houseless people are trans. Majority of them are children, kicked out of their homes with nowhere to go. I say all the time I am working myself out of job. I do these things so that the next Trans Day of Remembrance, we are not talking about people that were killed or killed themselves. We are talking about people that lived their lives and died of natural causes. We are honoring the lives they lived, not the lives they were lost. And with that, I'm going to welcome back to the stage to read her poem, Summer Taylor, Sapaga.
Summer Taylor, 24, Seattle, Washington, July 4th. They were always the first one to call people out for being sexist, racist, standing up for queer and trans people. They were the one that was so vocal. Dancing the Cupid Shuffle, wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, protective gloves, a mask around their chin, Summer Taylor, activist, sibling, child, animal lover, killed by a car driven the wrong way up a closed ramp into the crowd. Summer, white, non-binary, Seattleite, had all the privilege of race, love, family support, college, meaningful work, and strength of conviction fed on these nutrients. They stopped to dance on their way to City Hall at 5:30 in the morning, another night-long protest, the Black Femme March, festive, a celebration, the interstate closed, a space created for them to stand together. The day before, Diaz Love, injured in the crash, posted on Facebook, "The death threats from hate groups is real this weekend." Love, recovering in pain, the threats keep coming, writes, "If they thought this murder would make us back down, they are wrong." Summer, the last death in the first half of 2020, stands in stark relief for what they stood for. Black trans femme sisters, trans brothers, femme dykes, and gay boys, white, black, brown, the rainbow of gender no car can mow down.
Thank you, Sapaga, for continuing to honor those we've lost with your poetry. Next, a smaller ensemble of the choir known as Contest will be singing My Heart Be Brave by Marcus Garrett with lyrics by James Weldon Johnson. Take it away.
So this is, as mentioned, contests, a sort of smaller a subset of our full choir. This has kind of been a remarkable job that they have done in particular for this concert, because most of the music, given that we are an all ability, all skill levels choir, and this concert had sort of a lot of moving pieces and a lot of sort of more challenging pieces, was these folks just kind of took it upon themselves to learn most of this set just sort of on their own time outside of rehearsal. And so they've done a remarkable job, and I'm very proud of the work that they have done on that, because, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so that was My Heart Be Brave by the extraordinary Marcus Garrett. He is not only extraordinary for his wonderful compositions, but also for the invaluable resource that he has bestowed upon the choral world in his database of non-idiomatic choral music by Black composers. I've learned so much from delving into that resource, and I know I will learn more and more as time goes on, and I use it and get more into it. It's just a remarkable, he's not only preserving, but reinvigorating interest in music, both long past and present, by composers that you might not have heard of. So yes, that comes first, very highly recommended if you are, especially if you're a choir director, but also if you just love choir music and you want to find some things that you haven't found before that are excellent. This next piece, Sehnsucht by Johannes Brahms, was originally planned to be sung at our very first performance, which was 1 year ago today, sort of a progenitor of this contest group, performed at Utopia's Trans Day of Remembrance event. And we had 2 other pieces, and we were going to do this, but German is kind of hard, and we ran out of time. So we have repurposed it for this concert. And yeah, 1 year later, here we are. Sehnsucht, or Longing, by Johannes Brahms. And I welcome up to the stage, who will be conducting, as I hop back to the piano, Mikey Prince.
Thank you again for joining us on this important holiday and the end of our first season. I know that Trans Day of Remembrance is a difficult day for many of us to process, myself included, but I hope that through our music you're able to move through the grief we all feel into action and a hope for a better future. Stance was founded last year with the vision of building an inclusive and accessible community where our changing voices are authentically embraced. We believe that through music we can find embodiment and connect to our full selves, physical and emotional. But building a community like this takes a village. So many people have come together to make this event possible. I want to thank all of our singers, board members, partners, and donors, especially Traction, who has been instrumental in the planning of this event.
Thank you, Haven. Thank you, Kaylee and Mikey. And as mentioned earlier, Stance is very small, it's a grassroots, and it cannot continue without money. And there's a QR code in your program that you can scan that will take you directly to their donate page. If you are more old school or joining us online, you can go to stanceseattle.org/donate and can donate there as well. If you can't donate today, think about it tomorrow. As someone who works for a really small nonprofit as well, every donation matters no matter what the size, $5, $10, $20, $1,000. It all goes, and as mentioned many times tonight, Stance is changing lives and creating a space that is desperately needed here in the city and across the globe. And so while y'all scan that QR code or get your cash out, because I know there is a money bag outside as well, I'm going to welcome back to the stage to read their poem, A Shiver in the Leaves, Luther Hughes.
Are you coming to the tree where the dead man called out for his love to flee? Strange things that happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. A shiver in the leaves. A muss of flies showers his open mouth where the blood crusts. Dead, he will not speak. I can see how pain chewed the neck. I rest my head against the tree, sleep and wake in his call. Like legs of a spider, his nature extends, saying, like you, I once harbored beauty, saying, like you, my beauty takes the kingdom of blackness. It is dawn in a man's eyes, a cavern, a slow thaw to memory. I look and look and look. Who is to say what death is or not? He has his limbs, a sky overlooking. I know he is dead. Nothing will change, but still I whisper in his ear, breathe. I want you to breathe.
Thank you, Luther, for your very powerful poem. I'm delighted to introduce our next storyteller of the evening, Victor Westbrook.
Hello, my name is Victor, and I am at 62 years of age, probably the oldest member of this choir. But I'm also very new on this journey of transitioning. Because even though I knew since the age of 5 that I was in the wrong body, there wasn't a whole lot I could do about it growing up in the conservative town I grew up in the 60s. You know, there really wasn't a whole lot of options. I got really good at making the best of the hand I was dealt. So my sacred space was the creek. I would go to the creek to get away from all these gendered expectations that were forced down my throat, and I could be me, because nature doesn't care. Nature made us. And I would spend hours and hours at the creek, inevitably falling in, getting my shoes wet, going home, hiding them, and then literally getting a beating for disobeying and going once again to the creek. You know, I learned how to cosplay this role that was forced down my throat, and I did it really well. You know, time moved on, puberty hit. It's like, ooh, this body, it's not so bad. I'm gonna take it for a ride. And I did. I got married, I had kids. I would not trade that experience for anything. I have no regrets. Being a parent and birthing these two children into this world, my daughter is my biggest supporter. The first thing she said to me when I told her I was trans is she's like, "What's your pronouns?" And the second thing she said to me was, "If you're happy, I'm happy." And my son said, "Okay." You know, and so I had the career in a male-dominated industry, and I just thought I was one of the guys. They didn't treat me like one, and they certainly didn't pay me like one. And then I started living life for myself, but there was something still not quite right. You know, I still had this jolt every time I looked in the mirror. It didn't match. And then one night, at the age of 60, I looked in the mirror and saw what could be. I started seeing this. I was like, oh. Time had caught up. Medical science had caught up. Society had caught up. And there was nothing holding me back. The joy that went through this body was exquisite. And then I found Stance. Oh my God. This choir offers so much more than just a place to come together and sing. You've heard the stories just tonight. We did not collaborate on our stories. I didn't even hear the other stories until Saturday. This choir gives us a place, much like the creek, where we can show up and express. There's no justification. There's no explanation. There's just joy in coming together and being who we are. And I give so much gratitude to Haven for founding this choir and for everybody that works so tirelessly to create this space that we get to show up in every week. And props to us for showing up, because you've also heard tonight, it's still not safe to be out and seen. This choir changed my life. But if there's one thing I want you to take from the story, is it's never too late. I am living my best life. There is a voice inside of us. It flows in you, and it flows in me. And some days you can find it, and some days it's hard to see. There's twists, and there's turns, and there's lessons to learn by the creek.
my thoughts are running free. They might run swift or they might run deep, but these waters wind their way through me. When we reach the hill, we'll follow it down, across the rough and rocky ground, getting a little bit lost and a little bit found, but it evens out when we hear that sound. Why are we so scared to search our centers? It may seem so, but every door you enter you'll find a piece of something inside you never knew. Keep moving through. You've got your pain, I've got mine. It's hard to say it'll work out fine. We can share the road when we share a side, and the creek our dreams are by time. Why are we so scared to search our centers? It may seem so, but every door you enter you'll find a piece of something inside you never knew. It flows in you and it flows in me. Some days you will find it, some days it's hard to see. There's twists and there's turns and there's lessons to learn by the creek. Take a breath and think. Please don't be so scared to search your centers. Let those seeds grow. 'Cause every door you enter, you'll find a piece of something inside you never knew. Keep moving through. Believe it's true. I know that you keep moving through. Make a little change at the little creek.
Thank you to the choir for that very tender rendition of The Little Creek by Matt Carlson. And thank you, Victor, for your story. I want to echo that it is never too late. Every day I wake up and explore a new aspect of my gender. It's endless, it's boundless. It is creativity that is inside of us. And I implore everyone to explore your gender, whether you are binary or non-binary, whether you are cis or trans. I encourage all of us to break out of the colonial definitions that our society uses to define gender, because there is so much more. As we all know, there's no one way to be a woman, there's no one way to be a man, there's no one way to be anything. And so we should stop expecting that of ourselves and of each other. And with that, I want to invite to the stage for the last time to read their poem, Stay Safe, Luther Hughes.
Stay safe. The dog outside won't stop swallowing the city with its harping. Sooner or later, some good citizen will peek through their blinds, asking themselves about the fuss, wanting to know what cruel somebody abandoned such loyalty, some golden retriever, some snip-tailed Rottweiler, who knows. Next to me, he is asleep, the one I love, the one who promised me a dog in the long seasons to come. He says when the sun is at its most weary, when the sky collapses into the cascades, when the wounds of autumn vanish into miles of snowy flesh, then the truth is, who knows what will happen to either of us? We are always one bullet away from the graveyard, a murder of memorial hymns. If that's the room we've been born into, why do sparrows break the morning with song? Why do fir trees fight bark and roots for their green? Sometimes I hear the earth's sunken voice saying, come home, come home. And who am I to argue with the one who has given us so much? But dear, eager earth, I want him to live forever. I want the dog outside to have met my dead dog. I hardly think of him, of how our neighbors shouted at us to shut him up. One day, they did it for us, poured searing water onto his body. The grass around him became shredded hairs. The flies fevered and worried. I watched what happened to an animal unwelcomed, undeserved. When I tell him this as he armors himself for the day, he says that will never happen again, and oh, to be as certain as wind. Not true. I want to say, but I can't have everything. I can't have the yellow from the small patch of dandelions, can't have the echo of laughter rolling over rooftops, over the hush of engines and bicycle bells, can't bring the dead back to life. We won't live forever, but I am afraid some wrong citizen will mistake him for a scar on the neighborhood. They will take him from me. I settle with a covering spell. Stay safe. He walks out the door and into a spray of sirens.
Thank you, Luther. It's been an honor to listen to your poetry tonight. I'm very glad I got to experience it. I am delighted to welcome to the stage our final storyteller, Wing Mui.
I've wanted to die for a little over 22 years and 3 months. I keep track. There's always been a voice in my head since then that's just like, hey, have you considered dying as a solution to all your problems? And that voice grows louder and softer, but eventually I figured out that there's a pattern. That voice grew louder whenever I looked in the mirror, whenever someone says, sir, when on the phone, as if talking to customer service wasn't enough. It happened every time I put on a suit for a formal event. It happened every time I put on yet another layer of glamour over what I'm already putting on myself to convince the world that, yes, I am a good boy. Over the last decades, through the advance of medical technology, through the advance of understanding in the world, and oh my God, so much therapy, and a 50% off sale on dresses. This one's 60% off. But wait, it comes with bonus gender euphoria. It has no pockets. You know, with a lot of work, that voice receded. It stopped being as loud. It's still there, but it's not as loud. But there's just one other pattern. Whenever I sing, it comes back again. I actually have this written, but I'm going off script today because the next line was going to be, I hate my voice. And after talking to friends from Stans after our last concert on Saturday, I realized I don't hate my voice. I wouldn't say I never hated my voice. I think not liking parts of yourself is a human experience, cis or trans. So I can't figure that part out. But the choral part of me is, I didn't not hate my voice, I hated how it's labeled. I've been singing in harmony with folks for, I want to say 17 years. I don't keep track of that as much. But I never wanted to be a bass, because being a bass meant you were one of the men. You were the man holding the choir together. And that made me want to die. So I spent a large part of my life really hurting my voice, trying to be a tenor, because that's where the trinks were, right? That was when I thought I was a boy. I was just like, well, that's where I belong. And then eventually, a decade later, I realized, okay, yeah, I could just join the altos, because my gender really is alto in terms of that traditional colonial definition of choral parts, right? So I can be with the lesbians. But it's very hard singing alto parts as written, but a third and an octave down. It's just a mess. And it wasn't really until my first rehearsal with Stans at the beginning of this year, when I was sitting in that basement singing this next song that we'll be doing with a room full of trans people, right? When I realized, oh, yeah, I like being a bass now. When bass isn't the man that's holding up everyone or whatever like that, not related, not tied to that gender role, when it's just us, whether it's, women, men, Schrodinger's cat in a box. Doesn't matter. It's just, that's your voice. That is a part of us, and Stans lets us express that, use that. Just use this instrument that we're given by nature without those labels. And not everything was perfect. I still had voice dysphoria after that, because I could not go as low as some other girls in the bass section. But I'm coming to terms with that. I think I'm not going to say everything is perfect, and I'm not going to say that everything's perfect. I'm not going to say that that voice that says, hey, have you considered death? TM is completely gone. But I can say that it is because of Stans that, I am here standing in front of a microphone and hanging out with Stans folk back there, as opposed to being one of the names. And I thank everyone in Stans and everyone who enables Stans to do that for me and for others. I don't know what the future holds, but the thing is, with Stans, I feel like there is a future for me and for all of us.
Thank you to the choir for that rendition of All of Us from Considering Matthew Shepard by Craig Hella Johnson, with lyrics by Michael Dennis Brown and Craig Hella Johnson. Thank you to the trio, Basil, Taylor, and Emma. And thank you to Wing. What a very powerful, moving story. We are also thankful that you are here with us today and not a name that we are reading on a list. And I'll tell you, I don't miss those no pocket things because I got shit to carry. But don't worry, I brought some extra pockets for all of you without pockets today. Next, reading their final poem, I Have Room for You in Me, a litany. I welcome to the stage for the final time, Sapaga.
Nobody should have to follow that. This is for you. I have room for you in me, a litany. For the handsome trans woman and cisgender wife, for the suit and tie and heels, for the skirt and corset and beard, I have room. No one can say a life is not right. I have room for you and me. For the one whose father loved her like a son until she became one, I have room for you and me. For those who claim their own names, break free from the limited born as cocoon. For the one with the wide-hipped sachet, big hands smoothing her dress, I have room for you and me. For him whose voice rings high, whose chest bears scars under hair and ink, I have room. for the one who wears their self-made clothes and hand-painted shoes, not trying to pass. I have room for you and me. For the pregnant man and woman father, I have room for you and me. For the sex workers' food and rent, for the elderly boys' sparse whiskers and soft eyes, for the statuesque matron, the broad-beamed man, for your lives and your loves and your rights, I have room. I have room for you in me.
I think this is yours, Sabaga. This is here now. Thank you. It has been a joy to hear your poetry the past two concerts. I'm very honored to hear both of our poets tonight. I misspoke earlier. Wing was our second to last storyteller, and so I'm honored to introduce, for real, our last storyteller, Leo Snipes.
So yeah, you can't forget about me. Hey guys, tonight has been a very somber program, and I want to thank you all for taking this moment to be in this space with us. And though these issues are just, incredibly prevalent right now, today I feel as if one of the luckiest people in the entire world. I mean, wow. Tonight I am surrounded by my beautiful peers, surrounded by all of you amazing souls. I'm here tonight with my good friends and with my partner, Ashley. When she and I met, we were living in the American Deep South, surrounded by transphobia, fear, mistrust. I didn't know if either of us would make it out alive. We know those who didn't. But right now, with the strength and the will to love, to live, to be, not only are we surviving here, but we are thriving. I mean, alongside one another, we are loving, living, and being hand in hand, lifting each other up. There's nothing that you, all of you, and I cannot do, together, all of us. I mean, God. When I am surrounded by all of you with my choir, I feel as if there is a steady light inside of me. It is unwavering. It shows me where I'm supposed to be, where I am, and it's warm. Tonight I dedicate this speech to my partner for life, Ashley. We're getting engaged in December. And I dedicate this to the ones we sing for tonight. In remembrance, please let us love, live, and be. Thank you.
Thank you to the choir for ending us on such a strong song called The Steady Light by Reginald Unchantier with lyrics by Shayla Dunlap. Unfortunately, we have reached the end of our program. Thank you so much for coming, for celebrating trans joy, and for uplifting a small grassroots trans organization. I want to thank our sponsors and partners again, Traction, King County for Culture, and Queer Power Alliance. And I want to give a big thank you and a round of applause to Haven. Keep it going for Kaylee. And Mikey. And thank you to the choir. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for wearing your mask and wearing your mask over your nose. Please continue to mask outside of these spaces and test. Have a good night.